So, hello everyone. Welcome to Coach to Transformation CCEU webinar. I am your host Chaitanya. Today we are joined by Karin, a business psychologist, executive coach, and a leadership trainer with extensive international experience. Karin specializes in resilient leadership, empowering leaders to remain clear, empathetic, and effective in times of uncertainty and complexity. With a background in psychology and systemic thinking, she has designed and delivered customized leadership programs, workshops, and coaching engagements across industries and cultures in both English and German. So, we are excited to have her with us today as she shares her insights on the topic coaching in the C level arena, facilitating growth through systems thinking. Karen, over to you.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya, for your welcome and a heartily welcome to everyone on this webinar. I'm really excited and happy to work with you today here. I say a big hello to everyone from the UK. I'm based in London right now, and we have a really great topic today, coaching in the C-level arena, which is always very exciting. And I'm very curious to know what experiences do you bring so far? Are you already coaching in the C-level arena, or are you wishing to do that in the future? So let's explore together. Also, big thank you to Coach to Transformation for hosting this webinar today. It's a great opportunity. Before we start, I like to introduce myself very shortly. So I am Karin, living in London, UK, and in Munich, Germany. I've studied organizational psychology, and I'm a certified professional coach and a certified Oxford leadership coach. And this is my passion. I have been in the coaching business for more than 20 years right now, and I have developed from the topic of holistic health and well-being to the topic of executive leadership. My passion clearly is to support leadership development, because the leaders in this world can have such a great impact, not only on people, but also on society and environment. And I'm excited to work with you for the next hour.
Karin, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. This is Madhuri from Coach to Transformation. We can actually would request you if it's possible to switch the screen. We can see the notes, presentation notes, and not the full slide.
Yes, I try to switch. Give me one moment.
Thank you so much. And sorry for the interruption.
No, I'm very grateful. That means you see my screen and not the
And the notes.
presentation screen.
Yes.
Okay. Give me one moment. Does it work now?
Yes, this is perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you so much for telling me. So, before we start, I want to tell you, I want this to be a co-creation which is interactive and which meets your needs. So please feel invited at all times to place your questions, to interrupt, to tell me what is useful and supportive for you. For sure, this is a safe space in our webinar, and you are invited to share as openly and freely as you like. So you decide at any time, and what happens here stays here for sure. So let me ask you, do you feel comfortable and ready to start our session, or is there anything you need before we start? Then let me know now. Thank you, Radi. I cannot see everyone's reaction, so you're always invited to open up your speakers and speak freely. It's great if we can have some discussion. So, and another questions were very common in coaching, but also very important. What do you need that this webinar is worth your time? What do you wish for? And please just speak.
Yeah, it's Radi here. I would appreciate some sharing in terms of practical experience, lessons learned. Yeah, it's very, very important for me.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Anything else? And please always remind me where you want those practical examples, because I have a lot of stories to tell for sure. And I'm also excited to hear yours, because you bring also a lot of experience to the table, I guess. So let's proceed. Coaching in the C-level arena, facilitating growth through systems thinking. An exciting title. It may sound a bit complex, but if we break it down to the sayings, to the contents, it's very practical and simple. Let me give you a short introduction and a few words as an introduction to our topic. And as I said, of course, your questions and remarks are always welcome. Coaching senior leaders is a privilege, and it comes with both opportunities but also responsibilities. At the C-level, leadership is never just about the individual. Every decision, every word, every silence creates ripple effects across thousands of people, and sometimes across countries and cultures. As coaches, we are invited into this arena, not to fix, but to hold space for clarity, resilience, and purpose. And my intention today is to share ideas and practices that help us support leaders in creating systemic impact, while staying true to our ethical compass as coaches, because this is always very important. Have you any questions and remarks so far? If I don't hear anything, I proceed. So I broke the topic down to 4 bullet points for you. And please tell me if this resonates or if you wish for something different. I can situatively adjust any time to your wishes. So in short, for me, coaching in the C-level is much about learning to support self-leadership. And self-leadership needs not only routines and strengths and discipline, it also needs resilience. Another point is, and this is also included in our topic, to understand the systemic nature of C-level coaching, because C-level leaders never just act as individuals or isolated. They have impact anyway. Whatever they do, decide, whatever decisions they take, they are influencing and impacting. And this needs to have the necessary awareness, I'd say. as a third point, I've brought you a leadership model which specifies like 4 drivers the most leaders are driven by, and they are not all equally shifted. There may be stronger drivers and less strong drivers, but in fact it's to be broken down to those 4. And this model goes back to Bass and Burns and their explanation of transformational leadership. And I think the model is very helpful for you as coaches to understand C-level leaders even better. And last but not least, we will dedicate this webinar to purpose. This is one of my passionate topics because, you know, only if one knows why getting up in the morning, why acting through the day, why doing what you do, if this is like your North Star, you're following your individual purpose, then you have meaningfulness in your life holistically. And this is so important. It's like the sparkle added to everything you do. So please tell me, does this resonate with your expectations, or are you wishing for another topic to be spoken about? Nimisha gives me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay, then let's dive deep into our topic. When it comes to leadership, the most important thing, and please tell me if you agree or if you don't, is self-leadership. Everything starts with leading the self. Look at this picture. Look at this stone being thrown into the water and building the circles around. Small circles which become wider and brighter and really touching the whole environment. And think of everything which might be in this water, like fishes, like ducks, like birds, like boats, I don't know what, and everything can be affected. And this is so much owed to the stone, to its weight, to its velocity, size, power, how the rings around it, what they will look like. And I think this is a great comparison to self-leadership, because how the self is, how your being is, always spreads a certain energy. It always influences your environment, the people you are in touch with. Everything you have in the inside, you reflect to the outside, because I'm a strong believer in energies. And I think everything on this planet is energy. So the energy you build in yourself spreads to the outside and influences your environment. I'd like to have your thoughts on that. Please share what comes to mind.
I have a question, Karin,
Yes.
if it's okay to ask. I was a bit intrigued when you mentioned that coaching C-level clients is a privilege, because it's felt a slight dissonance with what you said, in the sense that
Okay.
my position seems to be that coaching anybody is a
Absolutely.
privilege.
Absolutely.
So basically, I'm a bit curious as to, is there any specific reason that you mentioned this, or is that because this topic is about sea level.
Do I speak your name right, Madhumita?
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Madhumita, thank you so much for saying this, for bringing this up. I'm really grateful because you're 100% right, and I agree. And there's no certain reason I called it a privilege. It's just the wrong word, because I fully agree. Coaching every person is a privilege, and it's maybe owe it to the fact that we are talking about sea-level coaching today. And please, my excuses for putting this in a wrong wording, because we live in the times, and I am 100% behind this diversity, equality, and everything. So good that you mentioned it. And I think it comes from, because I know from my experience that many coaches are wishing for coaching in the sea level. But for sure, it doesn't depend who you coach. It's always great. Yeah, and people are equal. So just to put this right, and thank you. What else comes to mind when we speak about Madhumita? Is this okay for you when I put it this way?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So what else comes to mind when you hear about self-leadership? Does it resonate with you that self-leadership is very important if you want to lead others, lead others? Any thoughts on that?
Hi, I'm Meenakshi, and I think self-leadership is very important. If the self doesn't grow, I think you are incapable of, coaching anybody if you're not self-growing, you do not have your self-discipline, like you said. So
Exactly.
you give only what you have. So I think self-leadership start from being self-motivated. So I agree with you that this has to be, one has to start inwards and then go outwards.
Yes, I fully agree. You give what you have. That's right. This is my energy comparison. And the more you build within yourself, the more you can spread to the outside. And for sure, if you are aware of your values, of your visions, if you are able to manage your emotions, so if it comes to brain science, you know, everyone has their triggers. So something can derail you. But at the same time, you are able to learn to manage this, because everything which functions as a trigger for someone goes right into your amygdala in your brain. And the amygdala is a bit like a muscle. You can use it a lot, but in the end, it can be exhausted. And if your amygdala is like over exhausted, it's difficult to manage an outbreak of emotions. And this is to be trained, so you can learn to like put a pause between your trigger and your reaction. And this can be learned, just as an example, because in leadership and also in coaching, it can be very helpful and supportive, and a good thing if you are able to stay calm. Like, there is a comparison which Oxford Leadership is always using. So in the midst of a trouble, in the midst of all what is going on, it's a good thing if you can be the silent observer. If you are able to, as a comparison, to leave the dance floor, go up to the balcony and just watch what's going on, and then take your time to decide, to reflect, how you want to react, how you want to respond. Then self-leadership is also mandatory when it comes to a healthy lifestyle, to your healthy routines. Because what would you say? What is mandatory in one's lifestyle? Which pillars to define how you live, how healthy you are, how good your habits are? Which areas in your life can you influence how you behave? Okay, I can tell you it's about 4 pillars, because what you can manage yourself is your nutrition, how active you are, your mindset, how you think, and also your sleep. And if you're able to manage those 4 pillars as good as possible, then you should be very equilibrated and should be a calm mind. What do you think? Why is reflection so important?
Hi, Karin. This is Madhuri. I feel
Hello.
reflection. Hi, I feel reflection is important because it makes you pause in that moment.
Yes,
And
exactly. Exactly. It makes you pause in that moment and
Yeah,
only
there,
then, yeah,
there are a couple of responses in the chat as well. Would you want me to read them?
yes, please.
Okay, yeah. So Shobha has told that it brings about self-awareness, and Radha Reddy has also mentioned that to self-regulate emotions and thoughts. And
Yeah.
Suket from Pune has mentioned a reflection is a mirror, and Nada has also said to see your patterns as well. Nimisha has responded with reflection helps in centering and awareness as well. And David
Exactly.
Naidu, yeah, he has mentioned reflection also helps to analyze oneself. And
Exactly.
Kritika has mentioned, yeah, reflections helps to understand oneself better. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much for all your remarks in the chat, and thank you, Chaitanya, for sharing with me. Please always tell me if there's something coming up in the chat, because this is most important that I
Perfect.
know what you think. Thank you so much. And I fully agree. And this might also be a topic which can come up in coaching with C-level leaders, and Madhumita for sure with anyone you're coaching. Because what you can often observe is that especially very successful people who are rushing through their professional life, they often forget to pause. And this is something you can create space for when you're coaching someone, to ask them, you had so much success recently, you reached this goal, you reached that goal, you did this, you did that. Do you know how it came? What are your strengths? How could you reach your goals? What made you successful? That can help a lot. And often, I don't know what your experience is, and please feel free to share in the chat, and Chaitanya will tell me or speak openly up. Many leaders forget to pause. And if you as a coach help them to set a stop, to have a break, to reflect on what happened, then they can get the awareness how they came to that success. And then they are able to use this again in a future situation, maybe. Then they know their tools and they learn about themselves. And when it comes to ICF coaching competencies, it's also very important when we speak about point 7, evokes awareness, or when we speak about section D, cultivating learning and growth. For learning and growth, reflection is just mandatory. Any remarks to this slide so far?
Actually, I have a question. I was trying to figure out what might be the distinctive, what might distinguish between resiliency and managing emotions.
Thank you for this question. Anyone an idea? Do you want to answer, Madhumita, before I speak? The difference between resiliency and managing emotions. Ryan.
Okay, so managing emotions is necessary if you want to be resilient. There are two different. Managing emotions can be used in a variety of ways. Resilience is only one of them. Resilience is about bouncing back.
Exactly.
So when you're managing your emotions, you're not exactly looking to bounce back all the time, but you're managing to keep, for example, your blood pressure in check and not give yourself a heart attack.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan. Great insight. Yeah, exactly. Like Ryan said, resiliency is a ability to bounce back like a sponge. If you squeeze a sponge, it is very small and another shape than usually, but if you let go, it bounces back in its initial form and size. And this is a certain ability. Some people may be more resilient than others, but what is very important to know, resiliency can be trained. Resiliency is like a muscle, and it is trained especially under stress and pressure. And there are certain factors which influence resiliency and how you can build resiliency. Some of them are like socializing. It is being proactive. It is creating a positive mindset, only to mention a few. And managing emotions and resiliency have interdependencies. It's connected, but it's not the same. Does this answer your question, Madhumita?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's look to our next topic. So I have a reflecting question for you, and you can see it here. And it is, when you're coaching a C-level leader, how can you create space for them to examine how they are leading themselves and how this influences leading others? Any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, so I can share an experience if it's okay.
Absolutely, you're invited to do so.
Yeah, so I had this experience of coaching a C-level leader when initially, I think he approached me to work for him as a consultant because we were I have the same background in the same industry as he has, and that his company is from that same industry in which I have an experience. But eventually, when basically what I suggested is if we could do a few sessions of one-on-one coaching first with him. I think initially he was very keen that I coach his teammates first before I coach him, but I think to his credit, he was open to the idea of being coached first. And I think in the first session, we just spoke about he spoke about his team, what are the issues, what are the business issues. And by the time I think we came to the second session, we were able to focus on him, and he was able to open up on himself and very candidly, what are the challenges that he thinks that his personality creates for himself in his personal and professional life. And there we were able to, there he was able to reflect on how that might be impacting his team, his business, his approach to business, his openness to the business model that he had set up, openness to reviewing the business model, and all of that. That flowed from his discussions and his reflections about himself, some of his traits, some of his patterns, which have influenced his personal and professional life.
Perfect. A great experience. And this is an exact and perfect example for what we are talking just now. Thank you, Madhumita, for sharing. Deepak.
Yeah, in my experience, if you're able to create a reflective space for them to look into how their values, beliefs drive their behavior, they're able to see their biases and how those biases come into leading other people.
Yes, exactly. That is also a very important point. Getting awareness for possible biases. Absolutely. Someone else? Okay, thank you for sharing. So here Ryan and Shruti want to speak. You are very welcome to do so. Shruti, do you want to start?
Hi, Karin. Sorry, can you just repeat that, please?
I just said if you want to speak, Shruti.
No, I'm good, Karin. I'll speak in going forward.
I think it was for Shruti Bajaj, this question. She had raised her hand. Yep.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Actually, I'm traveling, so may not be able to put on the camera. But I just wanted to share that I also feel that for the C-level leaders, if we want to create space, we can actually take them into the space of reflection on what is the kind of a leader that they look up to. So they would also open up certain attributes of a leader that they look for themselves, and how much do they find those attributes into themselves, and how does that influence when he addresses as a leader. So I think that space of reflection, if a coach can create, would also open up possibilities of a C-level leader to connect to a leader that they look up to. That's
I agree, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. That's a great question. Asking someone for their heroes and role models they have. And this may also be connected to connect someone with their best self. You know, we have always the difference between the actual self and our best self we wish for in case we are thinking about it. And this also facilitates personal growth to connect someone with something they adore and they want to reach and they want to develop to. They want to take the direction to. Thank you so much for sharing. And because we speak about a systemic approach in C-level coaching today, I brought you this picture, and I guess many of you know it already. It's the new St. Gallen management model from Switzerland, which is taught in business studies at universities, and it very well shows the systems a leader is acting in. Like the leader might be in the center and he affects everything, like strategy, processes, support processes, but also the complete environment which is involved in working together, like stakeholders, like suppliers, investors, customers for sure, if we speak from the business life. And there comes another point I'm very passionate about, because in my opinion, we all speak of the private life, of the professional life, but in the end, there is no such thing. We have just one life and we are one person, and the systems we are acting in, they are all interconnected. So it cannot be seen isolated, because what you or someone experiences during a business day also affects your spare time, your personal life, which you may lead in the evening. And so how you feel in your private life, this energy transfers into your business life. And think of the various systems everyone is acting in, and think of the different many roles everyone has. And this is, I think, also to be taken into consideration. There's nothing isolated. We are acting as a part of many systems, not only C-level leaders, but everyone. Think of the roles you have. You may be a coach. You may be a father, a mother, a brother, an uncle, a girlfriend, a partner, a husband, a wife, whatever, a friend, a sports partner, whatever, a business partner, an investor. It's endless. And if you take into consideration that acting in systems always influences everything interdependently, then you have the approach. And this is the reason why it always makes sense, if you're coaching someone, to look at their systems, to take into consideration and to let them reflect maybe in which roles are they acting, which roles do they have, and maybe also which roles do they like most, and do they fulfill their roles as they wish for, or are there roles which are neglected but they would wish to put more energy into, whatever. It's a very complex topic. But again, I spoke a lot. I want to hear your opinions, your insights on that.
Hi, Karin. Sorry, this is Jenny. I'm in the US and it's really early, so I'm not on camera. But
wow.
What I really loved about what you just talked about there was the idea of how powerful it might be to ask a question like, what systems are you a part of? And how is your role in these systems affecting your current challenge, your current wins, whatever that might be? Just pausing to even notice the systems you're a part of, I think could be a very powerful discovery for a client.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenny. Yeah, I fully agree. And what we have at Oxford Leadership, we have a self-managing leadership program, which everyone can do by themselves, digitally or together with a coach. And part of this program is also one topic that in life, it always comes to context and choices. And this influences how you can how you can powerfully act within your systems, because your systems give you the context. Things you can influence and things you cannot influence. So context. And within those contexts which appear in your life, you can make certain choices. And choices are the bigger decisions in life. So do I go for that possibility or for that? And those bigger choices, they will lead your decisions. And if you make good choices, and I mean, when we come back to coaching, you as a coach, you can always hold the space for someone not only to get aware of their systems, but also to get aware which choices are possible in a certain context. Does this resonate?
Yes,
and if
Karin.
out, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Do you need anything else when it comes to the systems approach? Any open questions from your side?
Karin, hi, this is Nimisha here. Karin, sorry, I'm just grabbing dinner while the session is on and hence not on camera. Excuse me.
No, that's fine. All good. Thank you for participating.
Yeah, you talked about the context and choices. It will be great to just elaborate a little bit more on that. What do you mean by that? In context of leadership. So I get that, you're part of different systems as an individual. But any examples to just sort of talk this concept a little more in depth?
Yeah, I for sure have. But again, I want to throw this question to the audience. Do you have a story, someone between our participants today, which can explain the meaning of context and choices in reference to leadership? Shobha, I see your hand.
Yeah, so today I had a session on humility and emotional intelligence in leadership. And we were just asking some questions, any example wherein the leader came and admitted a mistake they made. So there was a very beautiful instance. So one of the L&D department head had formulated entire training program without having an objective in mind. So the entire program was designed so beautifully, but there was no objective. So finally, they were trying to measure the outcome of the program, and they realized on what are we going to, measure the outcome. So the context is so clear that they didn't have an objective there. So when you don't have objective and you're made a choice of coming up with the outcome, and then they realize the mistake of not even having an objective from where are we going to derive an outcome. So he came and openly apologized to everyone. So the program was not able to get the best outcome because we didn't have a real planning done in the first place. So as a leader, I take that ownership of that mistake I've done, and going forward we will ensure such things never happens. So that is a choice as a leader to open up in the public forum to accept, so that the team doesn't look bad. So
that is such a great example and story. Thank you so much, Shobha, for sharing. And there's much more in it, much more. So what do you think? What is a leader who is openly admitting, let's call it a mistake or let's call it a decision, whatever, but he's openly admitting that this was not the best decision and this led not as the decision he or she made didn't lead to the wished outcome, because measurement of the success of this program was not possible because no objective existed. What did this leader facilitate by openly admitting it was not the best decision? What do you think?
Think,
Hi,
yeah.
Karin. It may be, sorry.
Yes, please
It's
share.
better.
Just speak.
Yeah, so Karin, I think it's the vulnerability that is an aspect which the leader didn't shy away from showing, which was also an important aspect at that level, that that you have that particular openness to admit, show the vulnerability at his end, that things can go wrong, accepting that that there could have been a better way to address it with an mission in mind or any particular direction. So I think at a leader's level, as a CXO level, vulnerability is an important aspect. Not many people can encompass or can accommodate, is what I feel. So this particular example shows a very important characteristic or a trait that a CXO level leader should have.
Yeah.
Where he's open. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sign if someone can. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and I also fully agree. Showing vulnerability leads to being authentic, and being authentic creates trust and safety. And when people recognize their leaders as being so perfect, this sometimes makes them afraid. And if a leader can admit, and let's call it again a mistake, so I think there is no mistakes in life, it's just a journey, and maybe the way is a bit longer, or you go the extra mile, but it's experiences and not mistakes. But he's open and he is honest and he's humble, then trust and safety are created, and he will evoke those traits also in the people involved in his team. And that's a great thing, especially in difficult times. And the one who asked about the example story, is this a good example for you for context and choices?
It is. Thanks, Karin.
Oh, perfect. And Ryan, I see your hand.
Yeah, so I have a slightly different take on this. I would be more interested in seeing how the CEO addressed other people's mistakes in public before I decided it was safe to admit a mistake. It's one thing for me as a CEO to admit a mistake. The repercussions for me personally may be there, but they are not visible. There's nobody to point out to me as the CEO that, hey, you did something wrong. What's wrong with you? Words to that effect. So for me to say that it says that he's humble, perhaps these are assumptions we are making based on this, which is why for me it's important to see how he's actually dealing with his team or with the people who report to him indirectly when they make errors. What is his reaction? What are the words he's using? What is the tone which is in play? And how aware is he? And now you come to the system. How aware is he of the impact of his words on the system of that individual, of that particular team, of the extended teams who will invariably come to know about it? So for me, I'd be looking at that also rather than just saying, oh, wow, he admitted to a mistake. That's a great thing, no doubt. But I want to see how he deals with other people's mistakes.
Yeah, you are so right. And that's a great perspective, Ryan. And it's so important as well, because yes, how is he taking, how openly is he sharing, and how is he treating, he or she, how are they treating their teams and collaborators when it comes to failure or mistakes or whatever we want to call this. And yeah, that's another trait which is important in leadership and which you can address as a coach. What is the failure culture in an organization? That's a very important thing, because if mistakes are allowed and people are trusted to learn from things which didn't went well in the first place, then also trust and growth and learning is facilitated. And if there is hard critics on things which went wrong or not as wished, it creates that people won't open up too much and they are frightened when at work, frightened of making a mistake. And this is the worst a leader can influence. And you're so right. Thank you so much, Ryan. Okay, looking to the time, let's go on. Maybe you can share, but you don't need to, but just reflect on the question. When coaching a C-level leader, how can you integrate the wider system they are influencing beyond their immediate role or team? You can just reflect on that. And if you have an idea, feel free to share. What question would you ask?
Yeah.
Yes.
I ask in coaching as well as in team coaching sessions of leaders, I ask them to consider second, third level impacts of whatever decisions they are looking to take. And there was an instance when a particular leader who happened to be from the HR space didn't fully understand what was meant by that. So I took an example of a recruitment freeze and said, okay, what happens next? He said, nothing happens, all recruitment stops. I said, sure, but what happens to the work? I said, yeah, others will do it, right? I said, yes. And what happens if it continues too much and too long? Then he started to think about it. So at this time, you're actually pushing them to think about it. Okay, if it's happened here, what's going to happen next? And if you're still going to keep the recruitment freezes, people are leaving because of burnout, then what's going to happen to the organization? What's happening to customer service? What's happening to sales? What's happening to whatever else is there?
Exactly. So you also made them aware of their systems and impact and the ripple effects of doing something or not doing something. Thank you so much for sharing, Ryan. And I see Neera and afterwards Deepak, okay?
Thank you, Karin. So one of the questions I have tried asking is, if your team was to describe you in one sentence as a leader, what would they say?
Ah, wow. Also very powerful question. Great.
And I've seen very good reflections coming, through this question, and which helps you build that rapport and understand how can you move forward with your conversation.
And this is also very interesting because there can be a different outcome, because there is the difference between what does they think they're seen and how do people really see them from the outside. There can be a difference, or it is like, yeah, it's even. Thank you so much, Neera. Deepak.
One possible question is to ask if you were the CEO, what would you do? Or if you're an investor, what would you do? Or if your company works in an area that, let's say, has environmental impact, then to say if you're part of the community that's affected by your organization, what would you do? So trying to locate them in different parts of the system.
Thank you so much, Deepak. So let's go on. And yeah, now I very shortly scratched on the model of Bass and Burns about transformational leadership. And so in a few words broken down to the essential, it says that there are 4 main drivers for each leader or even each person. There is power, there is performance, there's love, and there is innovation. And if you know this, and yesterday I exactly explored this topic with a CEO here in the UK. He's leading a company of 16,000, and I was building the hypothesis that it cannot be broken down to this model. But in the end of our discussion, we found, yes, it can. Really, those 4 bold words can boldly describe what people are driven by. And if you think about it, okay, there are more detailed models, yes, but this can serve as something you can find orientation as a coach with your coachee. And I just wanted to show you, you can Google it or you can ask ChatGPT or whatever, but keep those 4 drivers just in mind: power, performance, love, and innovation. And for sure, it's great if you find a balance between those 4. Then it comes to a person who is mainly driven by power. Then you also might find a lower leadership action logic. And I just throw this word into the room, leadership action logic. You might look it up. It says something about the individual personal development of leaders. It goes from more like opportunist to chemist, more or less. There are many in between. And this is also interesting because someone mentioned before, what leader do you adore and into which leader do you want to develop? Okay, let's just scratch on this because we have only 3 minutes left. And this is a master question, and you can reflect on this. We already spoke a bit about it. Where do you see the connection between coaching the C-level arena and the ICF competences? But please, we don't discuss this here. We spoke a bit about it because the very last slide is very important. And this is when it comes to purpose. And in my opinion, I'm very passionate about purpose. And in my experience, those leaders who follow an authentic individual purpose, which can serve them as a North Star, those leaders might be more successful and might determine their values, visions, and decisions according to their North Star. Please give me your insights on the topic of purpose. What comes up? What comes to mind?
It reminds me of the book written by Simon Sinek.
Yes.
Start with why.
Yes, exactly. Simon Sinek is one of the best when you want to explore around purpose. Exactly. The golden circle, always start with why. I'm very passionate about this. Yes. Great. Thank you. What else?
Neeraj suggests Ikigai, the book.
Sorry?
He suggests the book Ikigai, Ikigai.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Do you also think that purpose is so important as I do? Do you agree or do you disagree? I want to know what you think.
So Deepak says, I once believed in purpose, but now I'm not so sure about it.
Why is it, Deepak?
I'm not so sure, but I'll attempt. I think at one point I was fairly sure that life must be purposeful, leaders hence must be purposeful. I think now, I think maybe it's because it's been talked about so much that I've probably got a resistance to it's become very cliche to use the word purpose. Perhaps that's my reaction to it. But I suppose I believe that values are as important as purpose, that as long as you're living a value-driven life, if purpose is not very clear, it's still okay.
Yes, you are so right. And this is also very important if we talk about purpose. It's not so easy to have your purpose clear. It's not so easy to know what it is, because as Oxford leadership owner Brian Bacon always says, the purpose is already inside of you, but you need to do the detective work to get aware of it, to find out what it is. Venkata, I see your hand. I hope I spoke your name correctly.
Yeah, I'm Venkat. So the purpose keeps changing. Although we would like to have the purpose, which is fixed, but I don't think so. It keeps changing.
Yes, of course.
Based on the context and based on where you are at that point of time in your life and your leadership journey.
I fully agree. And thank you for this very important thinking, because the purpose is changing. A purpose serves a certain time when it's right for your context, when it's right for your situation in life. And from time to time, you need to find a new one. That's so true. Yeah. And my yesterday leader, he told me he likes to have a purpose for around 5 to 7 years, because it's not too close. It can serve as a North Star, but not very much longer, because every 5 or 7 years, life may change, and then you need a new one. Rishi and Ryan afterwards.
I would say, before you go to purpose and ask why, the most important question, you need to, always ask the leader to understand, who am I?
Right, yes.
Define yourself. And if you're able to define yourself, they'll give you a sense of direction, and that helps you to define your purpose. And as rightly mentioned, purpose is not a cast in iron. It moves, evolves as the situation and as the period and the seasonality and experience, exposure, and other things. But your internal strength is who you are.
Fully agree. Thank you. This is why we spoke about self-leadership in the beginning, exactly for this reason. Thank you, Rishi. Ryan, and then Madhumita, and then Murali.
Okay, so I'll make it quick. What Deepak said earlier about finding the word purpose cliche, that happened with me when I kept hearing the word passion. Find your passion. You need a passionate person, and it just wasn't gelling with me. And I found that a purpose is likely to be more long lasting than passion. Passion is a feeling, feelings change. Purpose, yes, 5 years is great, 7 years, whatever. You choose, you decide, because that's what you're going to spend your energy on. And it has to be worth your time and energy to get up in the morning and do that. And I appreciate what you say about we have to do the detective work. Yes, it is necessary. And that's where I use, or rather, my approach is to help the client leverage their strengths to get whatever they want in life.
Thank you, Ryan. Great. Madhumita.
Thank you. I just wanted to share, like in my experience in that system slide that you had put up, I felt like the family also plays a very important role.
Yes.
Because in fact, like what I've figured is in my brief experiences that sometimes the purpose that when you're checking for the purpose, and if it is very strongly driven by power in your Basburn slide, if the purpose is power, sometimes what I have noticed is like it is to compensate for the feeling of powerlessness in their family life.
Yeah, maybe.
And that helps to rule out whether, there is a trauma intervention required sometimes with the same. So
yeah, very insightful remark. Thank you, Madhumita. Murali and then Sayan, and then I think we should close.
Hi, Karin. When you mentioned about this purpose, I was reminded about this very famous model I read some time back about the DILT neurological model. So the purpose is something, what am I to do this? Basically, as a C-level leader, I think it's something very important to understand and define, because when you are in that position, there are many people who are looking at you. So the purpose defines the identity. It also creates beliefs and values, and then capability, the behavior, environment, all are connected to that. I think purpose is the starting point. We need to define that, and the whole team aligns with that purpose. This is what
That's
was
true.
coming in my mind. Yeah.
Yes. So first, it's important that someone finds their individual purpose, to have a purpose. In the best case, the individual purpose is aligned with the organizational purpose.
Yeah.
And the best is the team's purpose is aligned to your personal and to your organizational purpose, and everything fits together. And this creates real power. That is the real power of purpose. Fully agree. Thank you, Murali. Sayan, and then we should close, I think.
Sure. Thanks, Karin, for this session. One thing that comes to mind is that purpose typically sometimes we use in a very heavy way. So I heard one of the speakers saying that, or one of the commenters saying that it sometimes becomes a cliche. That's probably because we tend to associate it with a very large goal, or a larger than life kind of a name. My only reflection is that purpose could also be something much simpler, right? I could try and make my team better, or I could try and improve the productivity of a couple of people working with me. Even that is a purpose. So maybe we just need to disassociate it with something world changing, right? So that is all reflection that I have.
Exactly. Such a very important point too. Purpose must not be bigger than life. It can be something small, and it can be the weirdest saying ever. So I know someone, and his purpose for a long time was be like water. And if you explore around this, in the beginning it sounds a bit weird, but then it makes so much sense. So thank you all for being so interactive, for sharing your thoughts, your opinions, for challenging, for sharing stories. I think I really enjoyed this session, and I would appreciate it very much if a few of you can just give a small flashlight. What is your takeaway from today's session? Someone wants to share? Just speak. Venkat, and then
this is, I think, Karin, it's about the interconnectedness between the personal life and also professional life. You can't separate them. And one needs to reflect, as you mentioned, different roles you are playing. In every role, what you are, how they're connected, how it is influencing your other roles.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, the same here, Karin. That was something very interesting. Normally we tell, separate your personal life from professional life, but they're so integrated, and one influences the other, knowingly or unknowingly. That's the fact, actually. And I think as leaders, they're also humans, so they have to understand that anything which is happening in other part of life can also influence the decisions at work.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and purpose is something which I always believe, and I think that should be your guiding star.
Yes. Great to have a purpose, and if not, great to find someone's purpose. What else do you take away today?
So for me, I think the idea that choices and context are also interrelated. So sometimes we believe that choices are bereft of the context that we are in, but that's not true.
Perfect. I saw also something in the chat coming up. Going back to the core of human beings. Powerful. Yes, I can share the slides. I can then send them to Chaitanya and he can share if this is possible. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can share it with me. I can go ahead and send it to you.
Thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts. Is any question open? Do you need something more? Is then a good time to close our today's session?
Yes. And so it was a really wonderful session. Thank you so much for coming here and taking your time and just giving such good insights on the topic. So thank you so much. And everyone, I have shared the form link for the CCU certificate in the chat box. Please do fill it out so that you can get the CCU certificate.
Thanks again, everyone, for participating today. It was a just wonderful group. I very much appreciate all of your contributions. And hopefully you have a takeaway which is worth your time today. And I hope to see you again. I enjoyed it very much. Have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are. And lots of love and success as coaches and in your various many roles. All the best to you.
Thank you,
Karin. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yes.